sun's fierce light, a figure stands tall in the dead of night. Shadows crawl, but he doesn't sway, a sentinel guarding the break of day. Like fire burn through the air, a defender of dreams and the world's despair. Facing storms with an unyielding grin, the fight for truth always starts within. Stand tall, golden hair in the wind. The tides may rise, but we won't give in. Through the chaos, a beacon so bright, leading us all to the edge of the fight. The world quakes as the battle ignites. Through the smoke, he's a vision of might. Foes gather aiming from every side, but he moves with purpose and endless pride. Try to break him with venom and lies, but he soared like an eagle, piercing the skies. A symbol of hope when the night is long, a melody rising, a defiant song. Stand tall, golden hair in the wind. The tides may rise, but we won't give in. Through the chaos, a beacon so bright, leading us all to the edge of the
Stupid people should wear signs, neon bright, so we can find a way to dodge their tangled mess, avoid their chaos more, say less. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Save me from your twisted line. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Nada, nada, don't waste your time. Politicians dance and spin, blatant lies with a practiced grin. Blame the moon, blame the stars, blame the traffic or faulty cars. You think they're 6, not 35, playing games to stay alive. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Save me from your twisted line. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Nada, nada, don't waste your time. Celebrities with tails so tall, lost my yacht, it's so small. It's hard being rich, don't you see? You're living in your fantasy.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your your side, you manipulator. Playing games, your friends commentators. And I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
And right out of the gate, clouds are gathering, ladies and gentlemen. Clouds are gathering. Cyril, Tata, are you listening? Clouds are gathering. 35 Rand super chat, 10 for 10 on that hit music song. Thank you very much. Stupid people should wear signs. Bill Engvall said it very, very well a long time ago. All right, my camera was a little bit off. I got to adjust it now. It's a little bit better. Hang on a second here. No, I'm going to have to go this way, actually. There we go. All right, cool beans. Is that right? Anyway, hard to say. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. It's a pleasure to have you join me once again. Chris Wyatt Reports here on Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Earlier, someone sent me some friendly advice. I just want to address it, and I appreciate the advice someone sent me. They said, Chris, why do you respond to all these things? What people don't realize is I don't respond to much of anything, honestly. So it may seem like I do a fair number of videos responding to people spreading false information or people making silly attacks on me. But guys, you have no idea the number of these things that come my way, the number of times I get audio recordings, screenshots, comments on videos, lunatic, deranged individuals speaking Afrikaans, making claims I work for the CIA. Or doing it in English, swilling on their eucalyptus leaves. It's astounding. I ignore 98 to 98% or 99% of all this stuff, but some of it simply must be addressed. When, for instance, when a certain person down under insulted me and attacked me and lied about me on 12 different occasions, I didn't say anything and still said complimentary things about the jerk. But the jerk off didn't get the message, and eventually I went off and said something, because you can't allow people to disparage your character, slander you, and lie about you endlessly without responding at some point. And people are like, don't stoop to their stand. Well, you have to set the record straight. What you have to understand, folks, is that what's not on? Huh? What's not on? What's not on, Caroline? What am I missing here? What's not on? Anyway, if you allow those things to stand, then that becomes a record. Look at the former captain of the Proteas cricket team, who was Graham Smith, falsely called a racist for 3 years. Called a racist, attack, criminal injury over and over again. Thousands of headlines in South African media, news reports, interviews, people calling him a racist, only for the investigation to be done by a black and Indian judge to say that, no, the man didn't do anything inappropriate or wrong. He's not a racist. So you have to, at time to time, respond to these idiots. Otherwise, the Sunnyside Prowlers and other idiots have their way, and they run around and say stuff. So anyway, and people actually believe it, because I'm sorry to say that, and hopefully not my viewers, but folks, people are just that dumb. They're just that stupid that they'll believe anything they hear. Again, I got people now. Oh, gotcha, Caroline, gotcha. It happens all the time. People are just cowards. They wouldn't do it to your face, most of them. Most of them wouldn't do your face because they're cowards. Yeah, false TikTok videos. Yeah, there have been quite a few. And they do great harm to people who are depending on information, people who depend on, for instance, the refugee program. So it is necessary to make these videos. And frankly, I know on good confidence that officials in the U.S. government are actually grateful that I do many of these videos, because it has sorted out problems that they're not allowed to publicly comment about. And they haven't informed me, but I've gotten it right, and it's helped them along an awful lot. So also, I will tell you this. When people attack my country endlessly and lie about it, I'm a defender. I served in uniform to defend the Constitution and the rights of American citizens and permanent residents of this nation. And when people falsely attack my nation and lie about it, I will respond when it's appropriate, if it's appropriate. And that's the way it works. That is the way it works. Hey, Joy, how's it going? All right, with that said, let's get on to the news. We do have Wednesdays with the Colonel back in my studio. I assume Ronaldo's in his studio. That's coming up here in a little bit. Say hello to my friend Bob. There's a bugger off Bob, sitting here waiting for a troll. Taking a little bit of vacation. Pikachu had a little too much to drink last night. He's on the floor, lying over here, recovering. Got a bit of a hangover. And Bert the Bison is hanging out with him. So, there you go. So, anyway. I found it interesting. Somebody made a comment that they found it strange that a grown man had collectibles. Really? Do you collect Krugerrands? Do you collect baseball cards? Do you collect postage stamps? I collect postage stamps, lapel pins, and cool stuffed animals. So, whatever. All right. The nice thing about social media is anybody can share news. The bad thing is social media is anybody can share news. Exactly right. And Bonnie Duplessis buy one or two stupid signs. For whom? Thank you for the 40 Rand. I assume that wasn't an attack on me, Bonnie. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so the news today, folks, we're going to start off with, well, let's see what we're going to start with. I put my news together a while ago. I'm busy making some videos today. Let me talk about those first. So I did a couple videos today. That is not my channel. Hang on a second here. What happened here? There we go. I wound up another one. I must have been listening to something. Gold price doubled in 2 years. Yes, Philip, you are correct. Philip, do I owe you for a super chat? I answered the question, but I hit @ and it went to the wrong person. I don't know if you saw the response. I think you gave 140 Rand super chat yesterday. You asked me what the price of electricity per kilowatt hour was in Pennsylvania. The answer is 18 cents on average. It depends. Nonprofit businesses are allowed to get at a much reduced rate of like 11 or 12 cents. Some residential customers are paying as much as 25 cents, but the average is 18 cents per kilowatt hour. So 18 cents per kilowatt hour, that times 19. So that's going to be how many Rand for a kilowatt hour? So somebody good at math? If not, I got a calculator here. So 0.18 times 19. So that's 3.42 Rand per kilowatt hour. All right. No, it's less. 3.2. That's considerably less than what you're saying. 5. It's less than 5. Yep. Okay. All right. And I'm sorry if I missed that. But anyway, back. I just want to cover very quickly the videos I did this morning. So I did a video on Fikele Mabulula. That was after midnight last night. That hasn't gone very far. I thought that would do much better. It's at 7,000 views. And thank you for the 8 people who subscribed and the 8,000 or the 7,000 who watched it. But I thought that would be a 40, 50,000 view video. Oh, you pay 5 kilowatt. Okay, we pay here in Pennsylvania 3.42, and that's incredibly expensive. It's one of the higher rates in the country. I don't pay that much because most of my electricity I generate and put back in the system enough that I have a small bill. There's 3 or 4 months in the wintertime where I have a larger bill because I'm not generating enough solar power. Let's see. So that one didn't do as well as I thought it would do. And then I also did this one this morning talking about the murder of a businessman from Milnerton, a place where I go frequently. That's doing very poorly at 3,500. And then I released one that took a lot of time and research over the past few days to try to find the ANC's economic plan. They just come up with this bullet list of 10 talking points, which are just utter rubbish. Those things are ridiculous. In fact, I've got them here. Let me see if I can pull them up on the screen for those of you who haven't seen it. But the ANC has a plan. And Ramaphosa declared an economic emergency, a crisis in South Africa. Yeah, so I made a video, but I wanted to research this a little bit more to make sure I had good information. Here it is. Okay, so this is the ANC plan. Let me put this up. This is not a plan. This is a joke. And that's what I say. I analyzed the plan, and I also I didn't just complain and say, oh, this is bugger off bad. I'm going to, you should ignore it. I offered solutions, legitimate, workable solutions. So here you go. So there's their plan. Use electricity tariffs and investment in transmission infrastructure to drive economic activity. How? That's not a plan. That's a bullet. That's a talking point. That's an aspirational goal, and not even a very good goal. Use electricity bills, payments, and investment in transmission. What investment? You have no money. Where is the investment coming from? The African Development Bank? Thank you, Courtney McBride. Appreciate the 80 cents allergy. Yeah, it was pretty fun last night, Courtney. Are you off today? I mean, it's like, or you start till later in the day. Thank you for $2 super chat. Yeah, exactly. And I said that, Ronald Lowe. They created the crisis. The very dingbat, dipshit doorknobs who are responsible for it are the ones trying to tell us how to solve it. But they're talking about rebuild our chrome and manganese industries. That's not your job to rebuild those industries. That is not the role of government. This is not the Soviet Union. It is South Africa, ostensibly a democratic society, not a communist society. So you're off today. Congratulations. Accelerate the recovery of freight and logistics sector. Again, how? It's not worth your time to read it. So I made a video, and I'd ask you all to go to watch it. I think it's a very insightful video, but then I'm biased because I made the video. We got 4,400 people have watched it in the first couple of hours. So not great, but it's a start. But that video isn't just there are problems. That video says here are solutions. And they weren't solutions that take a lot of time to think of. So anyway, please watch that content when you have a chance. I appreciate it. Thanks to 379 people currently here. I know a lot of you aren't getting notifications. It's across the board. By the way, I looked at Peyton Manning's channel earlier today, Omaha Productions, because that's what he used to say when he's on the football field. 36, Red 277, Omaha. And people are like, what the hell does Omaha mean? Well, he's got his company called Omaha Productions, and he does YouTube videos. He has 300,000 subscribers, and I looked at his videos, and he has like 3,000 views, 2,500, 4,000 views. It's Peyton Manning, the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. No, Tom Brady wasn't. I'm sorry, it was Peyton Manning. And if it hadn't been for the headhunting gate in which the New Orleans Saints committed criminal acts, assaulting quarterbacks, including Peyton Manning, and damaging his neck, he would have continued on for years and would have set even more records and won more Super Bowls. But Peyton Manning is only getting that many views on his videos. There's something going on at YouTube, and it's not just here. It's all over the place. Shawnee's in the kitchen. What you cooking up there, Shawnee? I haven't eaten. I'm starving. That reminds me of something said on the animation movie Trolls. That's not a plan. It's a wish list. Exactly. That's a wish list, and it's not even a good wish list. And they actually think people are stupid enough to go, oh, wow, look at that. The ANC has a plan. What plan? It's stupid. Oh, diced potatoes and bacon. Can you put some cheese on top of that? Most things go better with cheese. Not everything. All right, so let's get back to the news, folks. Oh, where the heck's the news at? There it is. Excuse me. Well, the African National Congress has rolled out its plan to save South Africa. Save South Africa. Well, my plan with a musical song was much better than, my Save South Africa song is much better than the ANC's plan, right? Honestly, just listen to my song. It sounds a lot better than what they came up with, right? Honestly, the ANC has got their head so far up their backside, they don't know what's going on here. What is with my freaking computer? When you need something, it's not there. It just starts acting up. I'm trying to find my media folder. Where's it at? There it is. Then I'm trying to find my music. Let me see if I can find it. Here. There it is. There it is. Yeah. This is better than the ANC plan. This song is better than their plan. Sean Nadir, thank you, 50 Rand. Gold sunsets and skies so blue. Mountains whisper stories of dreams so true.
From oceans roaring wild
to valleys deep, the heartbeat of a nation that will not sleep.
Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day.
This song does more to save South Africa by inspiring people than their stupid-ass plan. Seriously, man, their plan is a joke. That song does more to save South Africa, right? All right, who's in the hospital? Oh, Hendo, yeah, Hendo had a procedure. He's having his anti-ANC organ removed. Hendo's going to vote ANC in the next election. He's going to go to London to vote in the embassy. He's having his anti-ANC organ removed. Taylor Bay, just a little cloud. Clouds are gathering. Every cloud helps. Thank you for that. They all have silver linings. All right, back to the news, folks, and the story we're talking about. The ANC is pushing preferential electricity tariffs, export controls, and infrastructure investments for South Africa's chrome and manganese industries in a move aimed at stopping factories from shutting and heeding long-standing industry warnings of creeping benefication decline. The proposal outlined ANC's 10-point economic plan adopted by its National Executive Committee meetings over the weekend aimed to arrest the deindustrialization of the metal sector, particularly chrome and manganese. Well, they may say that's true, but there's no plan. The ANC website has no plan listed. The Twitter account from ANC has no plan. It just lists this image. And Fikede Foko Mabalula has nothing to say either. He listed the exact same thing. They offer no plan. Maybe the media were given access to it. Tande Mako, maybe she saw it, but no one in the public has seen this plan. So it's not a plan. It's just aspirational garbage. The Democratic Alliance's Member of Parliament, Diane Kohler-Barnard, is in the hot seat, according to the Toilet Paper Record, IOL, over leaked crime intel. MPs demand immediate recusal. Well, it's funny that they demand her recusal over an allegation that's unfounded, but a convicted criminal sits on the Judicial Services Commission and no members of Parliament have called for his removal. This is a real country? It is. I don't make these things up, folks. Julius Juju, the convicted criminal, Malema, the hate speech monger. Yeah, you can't get me for criminal injury, buddy. Those are the convictions. They are convictions. That's who you are. That's who you are. Own it, Juju. And he does. He owns it. He's happy to say he owns it. But the convicted criminal, Julius Malema, is a person responsible for selecting judges and also overseeing this commission in which she's accused of something by someone without evidence. And she's not even accused of a crime. Well, she's accused, I suppose, by disclosing classified information. But hey, in America, if you're in the Democratic administration, that's just the norm. You just take classified documents, top secret, sensitive compartment information. Ooh, check out this imagery from satellites. We don't even tell people we have satellites to take pictures. I'm going to take this home and put it in the garage right next to my Corvette. Oh, my mind's going blank now. What was I talking about? Last night I was on a television, a telephone, and I was talking to Putin, his ill-begotten. Where were we at? My mind's going blank. Yeah, that's what happens. All right, so Diane Kohler Barnard is apparently in hot water, according to the toilet paper record. I don't think she's really in hot water. AfriForum claims that it has submitted a dossier on Julius, the man who threatened the life of President Donald Trump, to the U.S. House Committee that approved a sanctions bill. Let me clarify something here very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. The U.S. did not approve a sanctions bill. That's incorrect. I have contacted AfriForum and told them that they're, I don't know, let me reload this and see if they've changed it based on what I said. I don't think they have. But let me just reload it because that's from hours ago. Nope. That bill has not been approved. Not been approved. That bill has passed through committee and gone to the floor. But it went to the floor in August. August, September, October. We're into the third month now, and it hasn't been debated, even though it's available for debate on the floor. That's not a good sign. Not a bad sign, but not a good sign. A good sign is the bill that goes on the floor and gets debated within a couple days. This bill is languishing in the House on the floor, and it's not a sanctions bill. It's a bill to review the relationship with the United States. AfriForum is incorrect in their assertion here. They're incorrect, and that's unfortunate. Language matters. Precision matters. This headline will allow people to erroneously infer that Congress has passed a bill. They haven't passed any bill. There are no sanctions. There is no sanction bill. That's the facts. Now, would we like to see sanctions? Some people would. I don't have a dog in the fight. All right. So, the civil rights organization AfriForum yesterday handed over the organization's Malema dossier to representatives of the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs. This committee approved a bill in July that requires the Trump administration to conduct a full review of U.S. relations and identify South African politicians who are eligible for targeted sanctions. That's true. The headline is misleading. It's kind of clicky bait. So I hope that they change it. Schwane has ended a decades-old lease on a property that a gentleman has been leasing. They want 3.8 million rand from the Victoria East property owner. This is a story I did a video on. A decades-old lease that shielded a Pretoria East property from paying municipal bills has officially been scrapped as the city of Schwane moves to recover 3.8 million in unpaid rates from the owner, J.J. van Druten. The problem with that is that there are no unpaid rates. The lease was legal. It was legitimate. He wasn't responsible for them. If they want to abrogate the lease today, then from today forward, they can charge rates. But this is this is unjust. This is unreal. These are criminals. They pose as government officials, but they're criminals. They're criminals. They're there seeking to extort money from a legitimate property leaser who had a legitimate lease that was legal, that was granted under a majority black government, a democratically elected majority black government, gave that lease to that person and gave him exemptions because he created jobs, but ostensibly, I don't know why, but they gave him exemptions. The lease is legal. It's binding. Now, there's a whole different argument here. Can they even get out of the lease? The lease was for 30 years. So if the lease was from 1997, then ostensibly we got till 2027. And the city of Schwane is committing illegal acts, one would assume. We'll need an attorney to look into this. But the bottom line here is harassment. Why are they not harassing people in townships? Why are they not harassing people in residential neighborhoods? Why are they coming after this guy? Demanding he pay 3.8 million rand for something he's not eligible or he's not responsible for paying. What is this about? I'm 6 hours behind. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Chris Sanders, I get your point. Schwane is a fabricated municipality, which includes Pretoria and much of the area around Pretoria. You know that, and I know that. So Schwane never existed before it was created by the ANC. There's only one bill in front of the Senate, Vernon. There's one bill in front of the House, one bill in the Senate. One in the Senate is from John Kennedy, Louisiana. The one in the House is from Ronnie Jackson of Texas. So a 1996 agreement with the former city council, the Waterloo-based property was reportedly exempted from paying for municipal services, including water and electricity, for 30 years. But Schwane officials have now declared the lease outdated and invalid. Okay. All right, well, if you can go to court and prove that, that's all fine and dandy. But you have no claim to 3.8 million rand. That's bullshit. J.L. van Druten holds a lease agreement dating back 1997, which stipulates that he's not required to pay for municipal services to the former city council. Correct. MMC for Health and EFF counselor Ora Tilwe Blessing Mashabela led a revenue enforcement operation at the site. They're extorting money from a person who lawfully entered into a lease with this corrupt city. Yep. Today we are conducting Ria Tima at the Watloo building, which currently owes the city $3.8 million. They don't owe them anything. I'm sorry, Blessing. You're full of crap. You're full of crap. Yep. Well, well, I don't know where this is at. They're calling it Watloo, Chris. I don't know where it's at. I've never been there. It says Pretoria East. So I guess they got the story wrong. Anyway, this man owes them nothing. The lease is valid. You can't come back and claim something from 20 or 30 years in arrears. That's nonsense. Pure extortion. The EFF up to its usual tricks. Yeah, her middle name is Blessing. It was easier than saying than swabba wabba 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 wabba. That's her middle name. So she was a Christian middle name. So much easier for me to read than trying to go back and look the name again. Historic moment is Photon, South Africa, rolls out its first communist Chinese-built Bucky. The coca plant milestone marks a shift from imports to local production of cheap Chinese shit. The first pre-production completely knocked down piece of shit Photon Bucky has rolled off the assembly line at the company's plant in South Africa, making it the first Chicom commercial brand to establish full-scale vehicle manufacturing operations in the country. Well, not really. It's a knockdown version. In other words, the assembly line is not up. It will be. Aha! From later this year, it will build the Tunlin G7 one-ton pickup for the South African market and export it into Africa at the BAIC factory in the Koga Special Economic Zone near Gaberg. Well, the Chicoms are now building cars in South Africa. I wonder how many of the employees at that factory are Chinese nationals and not South Africans. Yeah. Well, Lieutenant General Mkwanazi had some interesting things to say, saying he wants heavy penalties for journalists. Excuse me? Unfortunately, this story doesn't elaborate on it. It's just a YouTube video. I'm not going to play it. But the ad hoc committee investigating the allegations made by SAP's KwaZulu-Natal provincial head, Lieutenant General Nandla Mkwanazi, commenced with hearings yesterday, and its first witness to provide evidence is Mkwanazi. And he wants journalists to have prison. Why should journalists go to prison? Okay, all this hope about Mkwanazi starting to evaporate here. I need to know more details on that. We'll continue to look into that story. Well, imagine this. An Eastern Cape city is behind on its bills. That's right. Eastern Cape's so-called citrus hub is bankrupt. 100 million rand in debt. 7 audit failures are exposed at the corrupt ANC municipality. Sunday's River Valley municipality in Eastern Cape faces severe financial and governance crisis with 100 million rand in debts and 7 consecutive disclaimer audits. The municipality struggles with low revenue collection, only 58%, high debts to Eskom, 33 million, and water and sanitation, 68 million, and infrastructure issues like water losses and housing backlogs. Wow. Another failing ANC-run city. Oh, there you go. Surprise, surprise. Except it's not. It's just par for the course. The story I'm telling you now is really sad. Gentleman was kidnapped on the 9th of September. His body was discovered on the 16th of September. A well-known businessman who, with a loan of 30,000 rand after leaving the South African Navy, started a business in logistics and grew it into quite a business, hiring many, many people, and also became a philanthropist, founding a not-for-profit organization that provided shoes and clothing and resources to underprivileged children. He was kidnapped. His hands were tied behind his back. He was shot 3 times and executed by the scumbag. Murdered Militan businessman Roger Brijal laid to rest. Hundreds gathered at the Hillsong Church in Century City to pay their final respects to kidnapped and murdered businessman Roger Brijal, who was laid to rest last Friday. Albatross Transport Service owner Brijal, a well-known figure in the logistics industry and a philanthropist, was last seen leaving for work on September 9th. His car was found hours later in Joe Slovo, prompting his fiancée to report him missing. His body was discovered in Philippi East on September 16th. A family spokesperson said, "We can't just leave it like that. We can't believe he was kidnapped and now we know his body was found and the people responsible are still on the loose. The family's mourning and wants justice. He had a huge heart. We can't rest until justice has taken its course. He gave so many people jobs. He created stability in the maritime industry and supported children in sports. He used to pay for their activities and provide for the community quietly. It's barbaric the way he was taken, shot 3 times with his hands bound. These are evil people who did this." Indeed they are. This is South Africa, a lawless gangster state. Well, Zimbabweans get another exemption, folks, until May of 2027. Home Affairs Minister from the Democratic Alliance, Leon Schreiber, has announced an extension of the validity of the Zimbabwe exemption permits to May 2027. Those holders retain a right to enter, exit, and reside in South Africa without additional permits during the extension period as long as other immigration requirements are met. Exemption holders may not be arrested, ordered to depart, or detained, or possess for not possessing a valid certificate. Would somebody please tell Operation Doo-Doo Head that? Please tell Operation Doo-Doo Head that. A South African farmer, apparently, according to Business Day, is in hot water over his foreign business dealings and with South Africa. South African farmer in hot water after Dubai partners allege fraud. Esco Group claims Root to Fruit willfully defrauded it and the company was a Ponzi scheme. Police are investigating South African farmer and business person Arno Steenkamp after his Dubai partners laid a criminal complaint of financial fraud against him, accusing him of duping them of $1.5 million in a deal that went pear-shaped. Steenkamp, who has been active in commercial hunting and farming operations, is being pursued by Dubai-based Esco Group. Esco allegedly came into contact with him in early 2023 at a fruit buyer's office in Dubai. Esco says in his complaint that it's December 2023, Steenkamp's outfit Root to Fruit offered it a partnership in the trade of grapes and oranges. After discussions, Esco contracted Steenkamp to supply 300,000 cartons of grapes from South Africa, priced at $10 to $12 a carton in the markets. The agreement, according to Esco, was that it would fund the preseason supply booking advances of $5 a carton, which came in at $1.5 million to farmers. Yeah, well, apparently he is accused of fleecing those partners. The United States aid cuts were long overdue, according to Zambia's president. Yeah, the reduction from Washington came amid the abolition of the U.S. Agency for International Development earlier this year. U.S. international aid cuts were long overdue, says Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema. Yeah, Hichilema said that the reductions from Washington, the abolition of the U.S. Agency for International Development, cuts other international handouts had given the Southern African nation the opportunity to take care of our own affairs. It forces us to grow our economies and do things we should have been doing, he told the Financial Times. Yes, it's painful for now, and the instantaneous cut left his government very little time to adjust to the faucet of aid being cut off. There was a shock, but longer term, it's a good thing. And he's right. He's right. Teach a man fish, and he'll provide for himself. Keep feeding him. He gets lazy and sucks you dry. Well, Myanmar's military is up to unusual tactics to go after its enemies. Myanmar military paraglider bombs a Buddhist festival, killing dozens. The junta targeted a festival in the Saigang region where people were also protesting army rule, according to witnesses. Myanmar's military junta bombed a Buddhist festival this week, killing at least 24 people and injuring dozens more. They said a manned paraglider with a motor dropped a bomb on Monday evening on the festival, which doubled as a protest against the junta. The attack targeted Changyu Township in the Saigang region, where about 100 people gathered in a field after sunset to observe the Buddhist Festival of Lights with a candlelit event. Myanmar remains in the midst of a brutal civil war and a genocide against the Rohingya people, ignored by the so-called humanitarians in the African National Congress, who aren't getting paid money by the Uyghur or by the Rohingya, only by Tehran, apparently, so they will speak on behalf of the Arabs that live in Israel, in the province of Palestine, and West Bank, we should call it. No, that's Judea. Gaza, we'll call it Gaza. Yes, they speak on their behalf, but they don't speak for the genocidal victims in Myanmar, in China, in Tigray, in Sudan. Silent on that. The ANC only cares about tan genocidal victims. They don't care about black genocidal victims because they just don't care. The black people can't give them any money and prestige. So they go where the money is. Follow the money. $2 billion in crypto assets stolen by North Koreans. Wow. In 2025. Hackers linked to North Korea have stolen more than $2 billion worth of crypto assets in the first 9 months, making it the largest annual total in record. Blockchain analytics company Elliptic said. The company said this brings the cumulative known value of crypto assets stolen by the regime to more than $6 billion. According to United Nations and various government agencies, these funds are believed to play a critical role in financing their nuclear weapons program. The breach of cryptocurrency exchange Bybit in February, in which $1.46 billion was stolen by hackers, was the single largest. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. How are people stealing cryptocurrency? Isn't blockchain undefeatable? Isn't it impenetrable? Isn't it impossible for anybody to steal Bitcoin and lithium and all this cryptocurrency? $6 billion is stolen by the North Koreans alone. I'm confused. Where are you crypto experts on here? Feel free to weigh in here. I'm not being a smartass, but I was told blockchain is impenetrable. To which my response was bullshit. I worked at the National Security Agency. There's no such thing as unbreakable. You just have to apply enough processing power and you can break it. Blockchain is very secure, but it's not perfect, despite the propaganda told to you by the crypto enthusiast. I haven't seen Momo either. Germany moves to authorize police to shoot down drones that are violating their airspace. Wow. That's a new police drone defense unit. Wow, look at that thing, man. Looks like something out of Star Wars. German federal police may soon have the power to shoot down drones violating the country's airspace following a string of drone incursions across Europe that have raised questions about the region's ability to defend itself. Under proposed law, federal police will have explicit authority to neutralize drones violating Germany's airspace, especially if they pose a threat to civilians. The drone incidents are getting out of control in Germany. Canada's economy is in serious crisis. Its economic collapse is coming. Mark Carney is going home after getting nothing. The status quo is not going to cut it for Mark Carney at his meeting yesterday. With unemployment at 7.1%, the highest level in 9 years, and half percentage point higher since the start of the year, Canada's economy is faltering. Steep tariffs slapped on cars, steel, and aluminum, key exports in the United States, are making matters worse. Yep, and he got nothing. Trump did not budge. Trump did not budge at all. Former FBI director James Comey faces federal judge, pleads not guilty to lying to Congress. I don't really care about lying to Congress. Congress is a bunch of reprobate scumbags. I don't care about him lying to Congress. I care about him defrauding the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, a secret court which allowed him and his corrupt criminal enterprise, a racketeering enterprise known as the Federal Bureau of Incompetence, to illegally, in violation of the Constitution, spy on American citizens, beginning with Carter Page. And then, of course, Lieutenant General, National Security Advisor. Oh, drawing a blank, man. I'm getting old here. I want him charged with that crime. I don't care about lying to Congress. I don't care about him lying to Congress. It's all about defrauding the court. Former FBI Director James Comey today stood before a federal judge in Alexandria, Virginia, pled not guilty to charges he lied to Congress and obstructed congressional investigation. U.S. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff set a trial date for January 6th. Both Mr. Comey's lawyer, Patrick Fitzgerald, and prosecutor Nathan Lemons anticipated the trial would take about 3 days. He's accused of perjury and obstruction based on testimony he gave the Senate 5 years ago. Well, that's unacceptable. He needs to be charged with violation of the FISA Act. He is a corrupt individual who must be charged. Longtime Trump target James Comey, he's not a target. He let the guy stay as the FBI director until he lied to him. Former FBI director will be arraigned in Virginia. He was arraigned. No electronics, including cameras or phones, were allowed in the courthouse. The case against Comey ordered the investigation into the Trump campaign's connections to Russia in 2016, which were non-existent, is the most significant legal action taken against those Mr. Trump has publicly targeted. And his indictment came shortly after the president all but commanded his attorney general to take legal action. Well, I don't care what his attorney general was commanded to do. I, as an American citizen, demand that the Justice Department charge this man with a violation of the FISA Act. As a former counterintelligence agent in the U.S. intelligence community, I know that this man clearly violated the law. He knowingly, falsely submitted a FISA request to surveil Mike Flynn, that's what I was saying, Michael Flynn, General Mike Flynn, to surveil Carter Page, and omitted critical information that would have prevented, most likely, a judge from issuing that warrant. Specifically, that Carter Page was a source, a spy for the CIA. He knew that. He had a source registry. He had access to it. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Orr, all of these scumbags, they were aware of that. And they got a FISA warrant to surveil Carter Page. And they used that as a predicate to spy on Mike Flynn illicitly and to spy on Donald Trump. They put listening devices in Donald Trump's offices. They put listening devices in his building. And Trump said they did, and they mocked him. And we now know that they did it unconstitutionally, illegally. And this is the scumbag who is responsible for all of it. He belongs in jail. He belongs in jail. Former FBI director faces arraignment, and he was arraigned, and he pled not guilty. He's as guilty as sin. Guilty as sin. Why are we talking about asylum here? No, it's not, Vas. Okay. No, I got to stop right here, just very quickly. I got to stop. I mean, we got to deal with this right now. Okay, we have to deal with this right now before this goes any further, because people are making bad decisions and we need to stop that right now. Okay? All right, let me just, I gotta find what I'm looking for here. Full stop, Vospot. Do not come to America and apply for asylum. You will be rejected. 98% chance of that. Do not come here and apply for asylum. Any South Africans think they're going to game the system by coming here and applying for asylum? In the last fiscal year, in the most generous of all corrupt administrations, the Biden regime, only 11 South Africans were granted asylum. 7% approval rate, which was actually high. Your chances of becoming, and since then, not a single South African to our knowledge, including talking to asylum attorneys, not a single South African has been granted refugee status this calendar year since Trump became the president. So your chances right now are zero. Zero. If you come to America and apply for asylum, you will stay here for a period of time, but eventually be deported and never allowed to come to America again. That's bad mojo. Bad decision. Bad decision. You're not going to get it. Remember, asylum judges are learned individuals like myself, not necessarily legal scholars, and you are guilty. When you go to an asylum court, you're guilty. What I mean by that is that you must prove your case. 96 to 98% of all asylum cases are fake, and they're adjudicated for deportation. Some people are allowed to voluntarily deport, but once ICE comes looking for you, it's a problem. I don't know why anybody thinks asylum is a good idea. You're not very well informed at all. Who put the device in Trump's office? The FBI. The FBI, Virtual Western Cape. This has been proven. It doesn't matter if you have proof. It doesn't matter if you have proof. Nobody's been approved. Okay, look, Vas, go ahead. Do what you want to do. Fly to America and try to defraud the system. Go ahead. I'm telling you, nobody's been approved this year. Some people don't. Do what you want, man. Do what you want. Do what you want. You want to come to America, apply for asylum? Go ahead. In 3 years or 4 years, when you kick out of the country, you never come back. I don't want to hear any crying complaints. Yeah. It's your choice. I don't understand. You know, people are being handed gifts, and we're still dealing with this asylum stuff. People, do what you want to do. You all want to apply for asylum? Go ahead. You want to fly to America? I recommend you all move to Florida. Stay there, and then go hire an attorney. Spend your $80,000, $100,000 paying for an attorney to be rejected. All right? Do what you want to do, man. Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. I don't care. Not my problem. I don't need asylum. I'm an American. I got the golden ticket by birth. David Free, thank you for your membership. White House says that it will. This is the White House, and of course, Carolyn Levitt says that the White House will redirect tariff revenue to feed poor people during the shutdown. Interesting. They're going to help farmers, and now they're going to help poor people. Trump administration is diverting tariff revenue to keep food assistance for low-income women and children afloat during the government shutdown. Ms. Levitt also blamed Democrats for the Special Supplemental Nutritional Program Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC, to nearly run out of funding and hurt the most vulnerable. Thankfully, President Trump and the White House have identified a creative solution to transfer resources from Section 232 tariff revenue to this critical program. Yeah, there you go. So they're still going to get money. So people still get food stamps, but we don't get paid. Thank you, Democrats. Well, the New York Slimes runs a story about how Trump is using the Justice Department to target his enemies. Of course, there were no stories in the New York Times about how Georgia, Jack Smith, the Justice Department, the Biden regime, who's that lard ass in New York? What's his name? Black dude. Alvin, whatever the hell his name is, that idiot, and of course, Letitia James, used lawfare to seek to imprison a former president with a constitutional violation of excessive bail by charging him $500 million for a bond to stay out of prison. A complete conspiracy that runs across multiple states, multiple attorneys general, and multiple officials in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the White House communications team, the White House staff, Joe Biden himself, and the Injustice Department. They tried to imprison him. And they're talking about him going after his foes. No, Donald Trump is directing the Justice Department to go after lawbreakers. And the New York Slimes wants to pretend these people are innocent. They're not innocent. None of them are innocent. They're all guilty as sin. And hopefully they'll all wind up in prison. James Comey's been indicted. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, is under investigation. Adam Schiff, who lied to the American public repeatedly. I have the proof. I can't share it with you. It's classified that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. No, you don't. That's election interference. The Federal Elections Commission ought to file a lawsuit against him. John Brennan, who stole classified information. Fani Willis, who stole money and lied about Trump and filed a fraudulent case against him in Georgia. And I don't know why he's going after the Open Society Foundation. I don't know why he's going to get on them. But yeah, back in power, Trump has now weaponized the department to his own ends. Critics say more direct ban than any president since Nixon. That's horseshit. This is pure fiction. Who are these scumbags that pretend to be journalists? Alan Foyer and Lily Boyce, you're shitheads. You're just propagandists. The Justice Department was weaponized against Trump and against conservatives. And we have the evidence of it. And you sit here on the day after they produced the evidence that Jack Smith and the FBI illegally surveilled 8 senators, a member of the House, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point, and many other conservatives in this country illegally in violation of the Constitution in the biggest scandal in American history. Bigger than the Teapot Dome scandal. Bigger than the corruption under Ulysses Grant. Bigger than Watergate. This is the biggest scandal in American history. And the New York Slimes runs a story about Donald Trump weaponizing the Department of Justice. Weaponizing it to go after criminals? Well, if that's what weaponization is, I'm all in favor of it. Pursuing criminals and prosecuting them. Yep. Bunch of scumbags. Bunch of scumbags. The federal government returns to the Supreme Court to push for a freeze on $12 billion of foreign aid from this past fiscal year. District Court jumped ahead, appointing itself as overseer of spending decisions, says U.S. Solicitor General. The federal government on August 26 filed an application with the U.S. Supreme Court seeking to suspend a court order that is preventing it from freezing billions in foreign aid. President Trump on Inauguration Day ordered a 90-day pause on all foreign aid, which is his authority to do. His presidential order was met with legal challenge from 2 nonprofit groups that received federal funding. Yeah, because they wanted money. The AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition and the Journalism Development Network. We spend money to develop journalism? Why? Ohio University has the Scripps School of Journalism. The School of Radio Broadcasting, Radio and Television Broadcasting. Why are we spending money? Why are we spending money to develop journalism in America? Why are my tax dollars developing journalism? And this is the shit we get. This stuff. Not this one, but the New York Slimes report. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. In emergency filing, U.S. Solicitor General John D. Sauer of the U.S. Department of Justice said on August 26th that the administration's position to overturn a federal court injunction had been supported by a 2-1 panel of the Court of Appeals of District of Columbia earlier this month. Despite that ruling, the injunction by a lower court remains in effect after U.S. District Judge Ali Amir in Washington on August 25th and the Federal Appeals Court last week rejected the Justice Department's request to put it on hold. They had it relief. They had relief, yet courts have overruled the relief at a lower level. That's unconstitutional. Unbelievable. Supreme Court is skeptical of Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for gays. Colorado's law banning conversion therapy for children confounded by the Supreme Court on Tuesday, with justice saying it seemed to shut down speech the First Amendment generally would protect. Kaylee Childs, a licensed counselor, said the law prevents her from bringing her Christian perspective to her work with families as their children grapple with gender dysphoria and same-sex education. Ms. Childs is being silenced, and the kids and families that want her help are unable to access it, said James Campbell, her attorney. He said that Colorado prevails, counselors and therapists would turn into mouthpieces of the government and be muzzled on other issues such as abortion and divorce. Counseling is a medical-based practice, Ms. Stevenson told the court. She emphasized that states can regulate conversion therapy and that banning it is a reasonable regulation of professional conduct. Justice hearing the case a year after upholding a Tennessee law that constrained gender-affirming treatments for children in a 6-3 decision last year. Colorado law bans medical professions from any practice or treatment that attempts or purports to change an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity, including efforts to change behaviors or gender expressions or eliminate reduced sexual activities. But they allow school counselors to coach kids to change their sexual identity because they're not in the medical field. And then the medical field is not allowed to undo the damage they do? Utter nonsense. The Reuters, which is generally a reasonable outlet, treads into propaganda with lies, which are being spread all over the internet, saying that Trump is calling for the jailing of Democratic leaders as troops prepare for Chicago deployment. This is pure hyperbole. Pure hyperbole. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday calling for jailing Chicago's mayor and governor of Illinois, both Democrats, as his administration prepared to deploy military troops to the streets of the third largest U.S. city. But that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also. That's not a call. He didn't say put them in jail. He didn't say put them in jail, which is what the Reuters story is implying. Trump said they should be in jail. I agree. They should be in jail. Brandon Johnson should be arrested for interfering with federal law enforcement operations and hindering law enforcement for perverting the means of justice. Absolutely. Absolutely. Air traffic controller staffing shortages is still disrupting travel here in the U.S. The national airspace has long been reeling from staffing crisis among air traffic controllers as the FAA grapples with a shortage of about 3,000 controllers. Air traffic staffing shortages were disrupting air travel around the nation Tuesday for a second day with delays at airports in Nashville and Chicago. Now, that's unfortunate. So we don't have enough air traffic controllers. That's a shame. The Pentagon has eased its ridiculous press restrictions in its latest draft. Reporters won't need military officials' formal approval before they are permitted to publish stories, according to the latest draft of Defense Department strategy to control press access to the Pentagon. Tuesday's memorandum seems to have softened the language from an earlier version. It said information coming out of the Defense Department must be approved for public release by an appropriate authorization official before it's released, even if it's unclassified. Well, that's ludicrous. Thank you, Yakbus Olaf, for becoming a member. That's ridiculous. That's censorship of the press. If you don't want the press to have access to information, then don't give it to them. You can't be interviewed or answer questions of the press and then expect that those things don't go in the press unless you tell them that this is off the record. It's for background only, off the record. You must state that. Otherwise, this is crap. And that's a violation of the First Amendment. The divided Senate has confirmed 107 Trump nominees. I've gone through the list of nominees and I did not find Brent Bozell's name on there. I did not find Brent Bozell, who is the nominee for South Africa, to be the ambassador. Interesting. Interesting. Yep. So Brent Bozell is not on that list. He has not had his hearing yet with the Senate, so he can't be confirmed. I suspect the South African government is paying the price, and Brent Bozell is paying the price of angering Donald Trump, and you're not going to see a U.S. ambassador in South Africa anytime soon. Trump's H-1B visa fees might strain universities and schools. These education institutions which deny opportunities for American citizens who are qualified to go to university, preferring instead to admit foreign nationals and reap tons of money rather than let Americans study at our own universities. They are dependent on these foreign nationals, particularly from China. Higher education leaders and public school superintendents say they depend on skilled foreign workers to fill critical roles. No, we don't. You've made us vulnerable is what you've done. President Trump's $100,000 fee for a new H-1B visa will have major consequences for tech companies and financial firms, but the effects of the new fee will also ripple across the education system, show up in classrooms across the country. Higher education leaders and public school superintendents say that the steep fee will hurt schools that depend on foreign workers to fill critical teaching roles. No, we don't need them. We don't need them. Hire qualified, competent Americans. That's what you need to do, not foreign nationals. Well, Mark Carney, as I said, went back to Ottawa without a deal to end the tariffs. Prime Minister Mark Carney, returned to Ottawa today with no deals to remove U.S. tariffs, but he left his key minister on U.S.-Canada trade behind to keep pressing the Canadian case. President Trump lavished praise on Carney during the meeting in the Oval Office and said the Prime Minister would walk away very happy, but he showed no signs of relenting on the tariffs against Canada's illegal and illicit violation of the U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade agreement. Trump's 50% tariffs on steel, aluminum take effect. An effort to boost U.S. production. I'm not a fan of tariffs, especially not protectionist tariffs. Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum went into effect at midnight on June 4th. That's an old story. How did that get in here? Well, that's odd. Sorry. My apologies. I don't know how that story got in there. It must have been an antecedent thing. It somehow wound up in there. Well, that was close. A huge asteroid comes within 300 miles of striking the Earth. But NASA and Space Command only found out about it after it passed the Earth. That's scary. That's scary. A huge asteroid came within 300 miles of hitting Earth, and scientists only noticed it after it already skimmed past the planet. The 9.8 foot, 3 meter space rock, dubbed 2025 TF, flew over Antarctica in the early hours of October 1st. Passing an altitude of just 265 miles, the rock came closer to the Earth's surface than the orbit of the International Space Station. Space agencies only realized the near miss had occurred when the asteroid was detected by the Catalan Sky Survey a few hours later. While a miss this close might sound alarming, the European Space Agency claims there's never any serious danger. Really? Never any serious danger. A 9.8 foot, 3 meter rock nearly entered the atmosphere. I mean, that thing would be like the Tunguska explosion. My goodness. Wow. According to the entry, the asteroid will next return to Earth in the year 2087. Well, I won't be here to see it, so sorry. Wow. I won't be here to see it. Well, the European Union is banning the use of the term schnitzel, sausage, and steak for plant-based products. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Can a veggie schnitzel legally be called a schnitzel even if it contains no meat? Some have argued such names are confusing consumers. European Parliament seems to agree. European Parliament has voted in favor of banning words like burger, sausage to market their plant-based counterparts. The decision comes in the back of a proposal from members of the center-right European People's Party. A steak is made of meat, full stop. Using these names only for real meat keeps labels honest, protects farmers, preserves Europe's culinary traditions, said lead negotiator. Yeah, we shouldn't take consumers for fools. It's a package that says veggie burger or veggie sausage. Everyone can decide for themselves. Well, I agree on that. You can call it whatever you want. You can take your feces and roll it up in a burger and call it a poo burger if you want. I don't really care. A burger's a burger. It's the shape of the burger, not the contents that make it a burger. Turkey burgers are not meat burgers. They're turkey burgers. Yeah, so whatever. And the Europeans are not happy. So they're debating this, meat-free sausages. Okay, I want to talk about something here very quickly. Well, maybe not so quickly. But this story, once again, the Washington Post is really beating this story, this drum very hard. And this is not an effort to expose fraud. In my view, it's an effort to harm veterans by exposing a handful of veterans who've committed crimes and defrauded the Veterans Administration. I find it fascinating the amount of money these people, they claim they're being paid. I don't even get a fraction of this. These people are talking about payments that exceed all the money I've ever received for disability in 6 years in one payment. I don't know how these veterans are getting it when I'm disabled and I reach the threshold for free care from the VA if I want it. So I don't know how they're getting these payments, this is bizarre. But they're implying that veterans can outwit the VA. Most don't. Again, when I had my physical and I turned my file into the VA, they identified medical ailments that I didn't realize qualified for disability, things that made my life less than complete, but I just lived with them. And so I was legitimately eligible because they were related to my service, my period of service. And so therefore I got a little bit more money. But these people are trying to make veterans look bad. And it's good that they report fraud, but they need to couch this and put it in context. Of the millions of veterans who receive VA payments, the 3.7 million or whatever it is, only a handful are scamming the system. Kinsley Kilpatrick put on a convincing show. During visits to Atlanta VA Medical Center, the Iraq war veteran arrived in a wheelchair, claiming multiple sclerosis had paralyzed his arms and legs. By the time he turned 35, the one-time athlete said he could barely move from the neck down, leaving him to depend on others to eat, dress, and bathe, according to court records. Obliged to help a former soldier in need, the Department of Veterans Affairs began paying him $7,900 a month in tax-free disability in 2015. What? I mean, I don't understand. The maximum payment for the VA is $4,300 today, not in 2015. How does he get $7,900? I don't understand that. The maximum payment for 100% disability is $4,300, not $7,900, and that's in 2025, not 2015. The federal government also gave him $20,000 for a specially equipped Jeep Cherokee to make it easier for his wife to take medical points. That they do. The hoax lasted for 3 years and might have continued indefinitely if not for whistleblowers sent the VA proof that Kilpatrick was lying. Videos of the Army veteran backflipping on a trampoline, prancing around a sports field like a ballerina, and swan diving in a playground a ball pit. And here he is. There he is. Look at this. This is the guy defrauding the taxpayer of all that money, claiming he couldn't walk. That's Kinsley Kirkpatrick. He defrauded the government and taxpayers. The VA's $193 billion disability program, one of the biggest line items in the federal budget, has become a rich target for fraudsters, according to the Washington Post. And that may very well be true, but it's a very small number of people doing it. Each year, the agency's inspector general opens dozens. There are 4 million veterans receiving disability payments, and they have dozens of cases. Seriously? Foreign officials say they suspect those cases represent only a fraction of the fraud that occurs. System is vulnerable to manipulation, says Michael Missel, who serves VA's inspector general for nearly 9 years until January, when Trump fired him. Exploitation of the disability program is worsened under a raft of political parties over 2 decades. Let's see. While in the Army, Kilpatrick sustained head injuries during a mortar attack in Iraq and was later diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a chronic neurological disorder. But after leaving duty in 2009, he embellished his symptoms during VA medical exams to obtain higher disability payments, according to court records. I didn't embellish anything. In fact, I think I'm being cheated out of things. When I left military service, I couldn't sleep for more than 15 or 20 minutes at a stretch and woke up and was constantly exhausted from a lack of sleep because I had a sleep disorder caused by my service. Now, fortunately, with time and space from leaving military service, that situation is eased, and I don't wake up nearly as much at night. Now, I know people get older, they wake up because they have to pee. That's not why I woke up. I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep properly. I never got deep into REM, which is very dangerous for your brain, very dangerous for your health, very dangerous for your psyche. And I got nothing for that. That was service related. I can barely walk from my hip. I got 10% payment, which is like $80 a month for my hip for arthritis, which wasn't the problem. Had they done a proper physical, they're talking about people embellishing symptoms. If they'd done a proper physical, they would have known 6 years ago that my hip was in jeopardy of reaching the stage and would have given me physical therapy and treatments that would have prevented me from being in this situation and suffering for the past nearly 2 years being unable to walk properly and exercise. But no. So I don't want to hear this bullshit. Now, this guy got a 100% disability rating, and he's been charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud. He got 6 month prison sentence, and he owes $201,902. $201,000. I would love to see $201,000. I received maybe a tenth of that money over several years. That's insane. That's insane. They ran similar schemes against the Social Security Administration, which also provides welfare payments to people who are physically unable to work. After receiving whistleblower's tip, the VA investigators used a hidden camera to record him during one of his exams in 2017, feigning helplessness while in a wheelchair. 20 minutes later, he left the hospital in Atlanta. Another camera captured him striding confidently upright into a Sunoco convenience store to buy some snacks. The Kilpatricks pled guilty in 2019 to defrauding taxpayers of more than $200,000. I did what I did, and I was wrong, he said. Federal judge sentenced him and his wife to 6 months in prison. They should have been sentenced to 6 years in prison or more. In 2017, after the Florida trial of an Army veteran who duped the VA out of $394,000 by pretending to be blind, prosecutors acknowledged the disability program may be systemically flawed because of weak checks and balances. And they say you're unlikely to get caught. Well, you're also unlikely to get benefits that you deserve. I can tell you that right now. Anyway. Charles Adams, a veteran from St. Louis, showed up at the VA exams limping and using a cane. He claimed to have fallen downstairs while in the Army, leaving him with degenerative back disease and arthritis so bad he could barely roll out of bed. Well, I can barely roll out of bed, and it wasn't the case when I retired, but the situation was created when I was in uniform that led to that. The VA paid him $106,000 over 5 years for the apparent injuries until a whistleblower called the agency's hotline to report that the 47-year-old was in phenomenal physical shape. Federal agents soon discovered he was a personal trainer who could leg press 800 pounds, but he was getting a disability payment. He went 3 years probation. He didn't get jail time. Should have been put in jail. He was arrested and pled guilty to theft of government funds. Faking blindness. That guy got 27 months in prison and owes $429,000 in restitution. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, cross-checking for cheaters. Authorities declined to estimate the percentage of claims approved by VA might be fraudulent, but when the Inspector General's office examined unusual patterns to look for cheaters, it's often found far more than expected. After cross-checking federal databases, investigators were surprised to discover that nearly 5,000 pilots who were veterans had failed to inform the FAA, as required by law, that they were collecting disability payments from VA for medical health disorders and other serious conditions. Well, that may be very simply, I don't know, maybe it's ignorance, I don't know. I've never been told I had to tell anybody that I received disability payments from VA. That's privately identified information. It's PI information. It's protected by law. It's medical information. So I'm not really sure what they're talking about here. But maybe pilots have a requirement to do that. Arctic, are you here? Some pilots lost their license as a result. In many cases, veterans said they were healthy enough to fly, but admitted to exaggerating their conditions. Well, I never exaggerate anything. If anything, I've understated my conditions. One of the schemes was perpetrated for decades by Paul Leslie Thompson, a 71-year-old Army vet who served in Vietnam. He pled guilty in federal court in June to defrauding the VA by feigning blindness since 1993. Prosecutors say he bilked taxpayers of nearly $1.2 million. Now, here's a question I have. He's 71. This is an article from today, okay? So 2025 minus 71 years that he's been alive would mean he was born 1954. Okay, he could have served in Vietnam. Yep, barely. Yep. In Colorado, veteran Mike Rodolfo Blay pled guilty in 2018 to federal charges to defraud the VA of $1.27 million over 35 years by pretending to be blind. Probation, no prison. Put him in prison. Put them in prison. Bruce Hay, an Army veteran, 9 years. After what did he do? So in 2011, a tipster in Kansas called a VA hotline to accuse Bruce Hay, a veteran and farmer in Kansas, of faking injuries from a car accident while he was in the Army. To obtain a 100% disability rating, he claimed he needed a walker because he was afflicted with tremors that made him stagger around like a Frankenstein. In the description of VA official who observed him, Hay also said he couldn't dress or bathe himself. But the tipster reported that Hay was fit enough to hunt deer and perform heavy labor on his 80-acre farm. Federal agents installed a covert camera in his utility pole across from his house and recorded him driving, hunting, fixing roofs, throwing bales of hay. He got 37 months in prison and had to pay back $537,000. Good. Scumbags, one and all. I was once blind, but God healed me, and now I can see. In May 2011, VA investigators observed Jose Calderon Fuentes on a walk with his wife. He gave directions to an undercover agent, apparently pointing to a map. For more than a decade, Calderon had claimed to be functionally blind. He said he couldn't count fingers only if someone placed a hand up to his face because of bilateral granular corneal dystrophy. Meanwhile, I've still got floaters in my eye from my retina being torn, and I got no disability for that. Unbelievable. Investigation trudged along for 6 years. The grand jury eventually indicted him. He got 1 year home detention and only had to pay back $43,000. Jeez. Yep. Anyway. Wow, this guy got a lot. It took decades for the VA to catch on to a scheme that began in the 1980s when John Paul Cook, a soldier fresh out of basic training, fell off a ladder and banged his head. He had amblyopia, which is known as a lazy eye, and wore glasses before enlisting. He said the accident ruined his vision. The Army discharged him, labeling him medically unfit for retention. Records show. The VA paid him $20,000 for Cook to attend blind rehabilitation course and gave him more than $978,000 in disability payments over the next 30 years. Yet to his friends and neighbors, the Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina, he looked to be just fine. As a scout leader, he taught the boys archery and how to use a map and compass. With VA depositing as much as $3,900 into his bank account each month, Cook could afford to indulge his passion for automobiles. A relative later told investigators that Cook liked to buy and trade multiple vehicles per year. His wife, who worked for the federal government in Asheville, inadvertently got him in trouble. In 2016, a colleague reported her for allegedly malingering, accusing her of faking her own workplace injuries. While digging into her background, federal agents noticed that her husband, supposedly a sightless veteran, had obtained driver's licenses in Tennessee and in both of the Carolinas. They placed Cook under surveillance for months. They watched him drive his two sons to school and make frequent trips to Waffle House, Cracker Barrel, and Granny's Kitchen. They also followed him to a gun store. 31 years after he fell off the ladder, his scam came crashing down. He pled guilty to theft and public money. He got 5 months in prison, and asked to pay back $930,000. Where is this money? I want this money. I didn't see this money. Wow. Anyway, it goes on and on. So they found a bunch of cases of fraud, dozens of cases of fraud out of 3.9 million veterans receiving disability payments. Spare me. Anyway, all right, let me go back. What's the response? What am I missing here? Johan Barnard disappeared. Why'd you leave, man? And Mad Max says, if you could have received $200,000 as a vet, what would you have done with that money? $200,000 as a vet, 75% of it would have gone into investments immediately. I would have put probably $20,000 in savings, and then I would have put $130,000 in investments, and the other $50,000 I would have used for starting a business, probably buying a domain, buying servers, hiring a couple people to work part-time, and go from there. Yep. Ron Post appointed Minister Angie Mocheka to serve as acting president. Oh, yay. Yay. To blatantly lie and deceive like that. It's a disgrace. Yeah, these people they're ashamed. They're a disgrace. But, every organization has people like this, unfortunately. It's just the nature of life. Yep. Schnitzel's a German word. Comes from Germany, the German language. Good Lord, cheaters have too much time in their hands. Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, those are good people. We suffer and we move on. Good music normally does the trick for me. Watching Friends also relaxes me. Friends? Watching Big Bang Theory gets me relaxed. Schnitzel's German, but why is it called schnitzel? Because it's a cut. Schnitten. Schnitten. It's a schnitzel. It's a cut. So it comes from cutting. It's a schnitt. Oversight in business processes lacking the VA. Trump EO needed. Agreed, Sean. Ann says, are you getting the gel type injection? I'm not getting any injection right now, and I have to go into my medical account, which I haven't done since I came back. I've been working very busy since I came back. I need to go in and look for the referral and call sports medicine and ask them if they'll do it, because this other place wants to replace my hip. They're orthopedic surgeons. They're surgeons. They have a hammer. They see a nail. They want to hit the nail. They make $20,000 to $40,000 per hip replacement, and they see dollar signs. I don't want to indulge their greed. I want to keep my original factory parts. And as far as the injection, I'll ask about the gel or normal one. Thank you for that. Gel or normal. I'll make a note of that. So my GP, when I saw him after I came back from England, was supposed to put in a referral to go see a sports medicine person. It's a complicated process. I'll look into it. Email over a month ago, still waiting for a response. CMM, I've talked about timelines for people. You're talking about refugee things. This isn't the place to do it, but I finished with the news, so I'll indulge you. I have people on here who received emails, and it took 65 days before they got a follow-up, and they're now in America. Be patient. Labeling veterans as fraudsters is just about the height of despicable. Well, there are fraudsters. I mean, but the tone of the article and the previous article from yesterday imply that the system is rigged so that Americans get cheated. No, veterans get cheated. Veterans get cheated. Unbelievable. I mean, you know, it's shocking. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, but yeah. But thank you for your concern. News headline was like a play on Bismarck's quote: "Laws are like sausages." Waiting for my vet. Well, Alan, you're never going to get a veteran's pension. That's unfortunate. The Earth travels toward meteor belt twice a year. We roll, twice a year every year. We roll the dice of potential extinction more often than people realize. Oh, I realize it. That's why we set up, space-based surveillance, but it's not doing a good job. Which country pocket has the visa money when you apply for I have no idea what you're asking, Krista. What is that question? Simon's not a good idea in my case because it takes a year, and then it's not take a year. It doesn't take a year. It takes a lot longer than a year. It takes many years, and it costs thousands of dollars. Yeah, the air traffic controllers, the military will get their payback when the government opens up. That's correct. But people still have mortgages and payments and bills and things like that, car payments, food. But if you live from paycheck to paycheck, unless you're 17 to 24, I have very little empathy for you. You should learn to live within your means and put money aside so that you can survive a rainy day. I put money aside. I prepared for the government shutdown, and I paid my mortgage 10 days early in September before it was due in October, just in case I didn't get paid. And I paid all my utilities. The only thing I had outstanding were credit card bills. So there you go. Well, it's not like South African export steel. Correct. Sandra Holtzkampf, and yippee, I received a mail today. Congratulations, Sandra. That's good news for you. If they disapprove you, you'll be deported and will not be allowed. Well, it's 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, Elmarie. I think it's 10 years. 10 years. So to come back and then ask for refugee status, it will be rejected. Of course, it will be rejected. Yep. Thank you, Maze. I appreciate it. I'd like to be on the list, too. Minors cannot enter a contract in the United States, and there are a lot of contracts to any kind of medical treatment. Correct. Children should not be allowed to transition. It's that simple. I agree, Daniel. Crossfire Hurricane is what it was called. Thank you. That's not what I was looking for. Thank you for that. Holden, that was the crooked thing they had to go after Trump. Probably should spend as much energy on American issues as they do on Israeli issues. Low IQ. I appreciate your comment, but it's showing a low IQ. American politicians, Republicans, spend more time on American issues than they do in Israel. Your perception is wildly out of proportion to reality. Sorry. Hey, Fiona, I haven't seen you in ages. I'm glad to see you there. Sorry you're buffering. You're correct, Holden Caulfield. Obama spied on James O'Keefe. Was it James O'Keefe or was the other guy from New York Times? It wasn't James O'Keefe. It was the guy from New York Times and the Washington Post, and they also spied on Ted Cruz illegally. Nothing happened to them. A lot of people are desperate to throw away your only chance. Is crazy. Agreed. Pam Bondi's sitting in her hands. In what regard, low IQ? 28,000 sides of cases have been approved from January 20. No. Where do you get that figure from? Where do you get that figure from, Chief Wolf? Grok? As of May, the specific total of all of 2025 asylum approvals not yet available, but as of March, 1,777 cases were approved. Where are you getting 28,000? In 3 months, it was 1,800 before Trump clamped down. So I don't know the number here, but we really have to dig into this. Okay, Trace Reports organization, which follows this. Okay. Out of 2,000 immigration court cases which some fourth leave was granted. Well, that's much higher. 2,852. Well, like I said, you want to try for it, go for it. Debbie Fox, thank you for the 50 Rand super chat. Clouds are gathering. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Google spies me every single day. They do. So does Yahoo. Yep. When do you find him ever? How are you doing? Stay safe, everyone. Sad to have an amazing day tomorrow. Okay. Make it count. Do take gelatin or collagen to rebuild the cartilage? I'm not taking gelatin or collagen, but I do take chondrite and sulfate. Is that not? I haven't taken it today. Isn't that a good idea? Chondrite and sulfate. This is supposed to be good for joints. I researched it. Supposedly it's good for joints. Is it true? Well, thank you for being morose, Erica. Unless you're going to be dead in 10 years. That's kind of morose. Oops, too many of those come out. Yeah, collagen. Yeah, I don't know. Be nice if it rebuilt it. I definitely don't want to replace that damn thing. I thought you couldn't replace cartilage. Same hip problem, says Sarita. Okay. Good wife won't help it. It's bone on bone. You can't exercise that away. According to Grok, there were 11 asylum seekers South Africa in the U.S. financial year. 1 was approved. It's your birthday. Hey, Lana, before I wrap up, then let's get you the birthday cake up there before we go. Videos to show. Happy birthday, Lana. Yeah, I do need to take a bathroom break before Ronaldo, but I need to make sure Ronaldo sent me a link, so let me go look for Ronaldo. He did send me links. Let me go and wrap up so Ronaldo doesn't start late and blame it on me, okay? All right, guys, be sure to hit the like button. Thank you for the super chats. Hey, 401 likes. That's a little bit better. Thank you for that, guys. I appreciate that. And ladies, guys is a generic term. Happy birthday to Lana. Glad you mentioned it was late in the game. You almost missed that. And we'll see you tomorrow, unless you tune in tonight for the Common Sense Conservatives. You can catch it on my channel, or you can catch it on WSMN, or you can .net, or Facebook, wherever you want, if you want to hear it. But it's late for South Africans, 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay? Thanks for being here. And, hey, we'll see you later on. You can also, let me actually do that in case anybody wants to go over there. I forgot to do that because I was busy doing so many other things. So let me just take care of this. Before you all leave, let me just get you a redirect over to the Ronaldo Meister. whom I don't see on my shows anymore. Guess he's busy. There it is. Save. All right, so you'll be directed over to Ronaldo if you want to watch us over there. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you shortly. Appreciate it. Stupid people should wear signs. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Cheers.